Prabhupada, I met him before meeting him because I remember I went to England and I saw the devotees in the street, and I was fascinated by the Maha Mantra, which I've heard on the radio singing by George Harrison, My Sweet Lord, and I purchased the book Easy Journey to Other Planet, even though I didn't read any English, but I was fascinated by the picture on the cover. And then I memorized the name, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And so a few months later, I met a devotee in Paris, and for some reason, it was a woman. She asked me, "Do you know this man?" And she showed me Prabhupada, and I said, "A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada." I don't know why I memorized that. Then I started coming to the temple, and just about a year later, I was 16, I met Prabhupada, and it was in Geneva, Switzerland. And so I have seen him, heard him, and heard his glories before meeting him. So like when you see a rock and roll star, even though I don't want to make a comparison between Prabhupada and a rock and roll star, but still I was very much like in awe. When I saw Prabhupada enter the room, it was like so bright and almost floating. I'm not saying he was floating, but I had this impression that he was almost like floating. And a big smile. And then we offer some flowers, Guru Puja, and offer flowers. And I could catch his, in his eyes, a deep sense of compassion. Because we were very young. I was 16, and there was another boy also the same age. And the way he was looking at us, you know, like, it's difficult to say, but it carried something. It meant great care. It meant like, he was very concerned. And so the next day we were going on a morning walk in Geneva, and it was a little chilly in the morning, even though it was in the summer. And I didn't have anything except with the kurta, with the short sleeves. And I was walking behind Prabhupada and thinking, it's cold, but I am not this body. Then Prabhupada stopped and turned over to me and he said, "Oh, so you are cold." And I was so surprised that he knew my mind that I just didn't know what to answer. So, you know, someone gave me a chadar and everything. And again, I felt this, like he cared. Because not only he knew, but he cared. Once I was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, that was just published. Prabhupada insisted that all the what he has translated should be published in a very short period because it was the BBT was behind, and so they printed all these books. It was in '75, I think. So I was reading one by one all this Chaitanya Charitamrita, and in one of them, one of the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying that even if you think as a devotee that within this institution, meaning ISKCON, they are not very advanced devotees, you can still directly go to the spiritual master. I noted down, I read it again, and then I noted down, I don't have the exact passage, but I think it's in Madhya Lila, some place. And I was telling one of my godbrother about this, and Indian, and he didn't believe me. He said, "No, how can it be? You know, how can Prabhupada say such a thing? That there's no, you know, advanced devotee." I said, Prabhupada didn't say there's no advanced devotees. He said, even if you think like this, and you have no association with the devotees, you can go directly associate with the spiritual master. So Prabhupada was there in his, you know, in his, he was giving darshan every night. And so I asked the question, and Prabhupada confirmed everything, that actually, yes, that is true, you know, if that is the case. I don't remember exactly the words, but he made me understand that what is written in his books and what he's saying, that's the same thing. There's no like a contradiction between what he's saying and what he has written down. The instruction of the Guru in the books, they are transcendental vibration. Actually, Prabhupada was dictaphone, so there was actually words that he was speaking, and it's like we can hear those words, and they convince so many people. After those who never met him personally, it entered into their heart. So the books, Prabhupada manifested through these books. He said also that I am always present in these books. But that's anecdote, because speaking about Bombay, that was a few years later. And if I go back to Switzerland, I remember we met once a gentleman in Switzerland, and we stay over in his house to sleep over. And he came to meet Prabhupada, and we were in a little room, just a few of us. And Prabhupada asked him, do you have any questions? And for some reason that man froze, he didn't have any questions. Prabhupada said, okay, bring the harmonium, and he started singing. I think it was Goranga Bolite Habe. I don't remember, unfortunately. And so he sang very nicely in some devotee accompanied with the mridanga and the kartal. Then after the song, Prabhupada looked over at this gentleman and he said, you are a devotee. And I don't know why Prabhupada said that, because we never met the person, completely disappeared after. But he felt his heart. And we asked him after, why did you ask something to Prabhupada? And he said, I was so impressed by his presence. I just froze. I couldn't say anything. So I was not the only one to have this kind of reaction. Many people in front of Prabhupada, they just froze. It's like, and the questions also that you could have in your mind disappear. So, there's no doubts anymore. Everything becomes so clear. I also had that experience when Prabhupada was speaking to very people who had some name and fame. For example, still in Geneva, there was a Sanskrit scholar, and he wrote something on Krishna, and he met Srila Prabhupada there. The devotee brought him to the little house in Geneva, and he said, one thing he said, oh, Swamiji, it took me 16 years to write this book about Krishna. Prabhupada looked it up, it's in French, but he looked it up and he says, yes, and you still made so many mistakes. and Prabhupada also in Paris, the same thing. His attitude will change completely when someone was not really favorable. He was in a mood of argumentation. Prabhupada will become, his attitude will change. He will become very, but if he was with someone that he felt was favorable, he was very relaxed. And he had this incredible way of dealing with people, knowing their heart and answering their question without even speaking a word. Again, in the darshan, it was still in Bombay also, he was telling the story of Vrikasura. And even though we read it many times and heard it, when Prabhupada was telling it, he was like relishing it. He was like big smile, he says, this foolish rascal, he put his hand, on his head, and the head exploded and everything. And Prabhupada was laughing, enjoying it. And it was just as surprising as to hear it for the first time, because for Prabhupada, this was really a new story. It was not like something we've heard so many times. Another moment also, still in Bombay, there was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's, I think it was disappearance or appearance day, and Prabhupada sat on the floor and he put the picture of his Gurudev on the Vyasasan. And he gave a wonderful speech, and at the end he said that my Guru Maharaj saved me. And he started crying, and I was really impressed because he had so much dedication for his spiritual master. So often he said, my only qualification is to follow the order of my spiritual master. He said, I came here in the West on the order of my spiritual master. Many times he said, so many people came. This is by the preaching of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And sometimes when devotees will glorify him, say, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada will turn and say, yes, Jai Prabhupada. Because he will always remember his Gurudev. And that's one thing. It's been 40 years, more than 40 years he disappeared, and somehow he captured our heart. It's still like, it's still there. For some reason, I may not be a good disciple, but for some reason he captured my heart, and he's always present. Actually, like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, the Vaishnav never dies. And when I go to Vrindavan and I go to Radha Damodar, his room, because he said he always lived there, or when I go to the Samadhi in Krishna Balaram Mandir, I really feel his presence. And I speak to him and I hear him speak to me. Maybe just my mind, but my mind has caught his voice. I can hear him clearly say, and sometimes it makes so much sense. So one time, not such a long time ago, maybe 2 years ago, I was in front of the Samadhi in Krishna Balaram Mandir and praying to Prabhupada mentally, and almost lamenting, because I said, I wish I could meet Shuddha Bhakta, like you. And I wish that could happen again. And I heard him speaking through my mind, and like again, this is very personal, so it could be just my mind, but I heard him distinctly, and it's something that he will have said easily. I heard him say, you become that Shuddha Vaishnava. Because that was his ideal, that why are you looking for someone? You become ideal. He gave us everything so we can become pure Vaishnava, pure devotee of Krishna. And he was the perfect example of that. There was always Krishna in his mind, and there was always everything that he was doing was an instruction, even when he was joking, because he had a sense of humor also. And all the qualities of a human beings that we can think of, he had those qualities: humility and gentleness and wit and so many qualities we can think of. So my encounter with Srila Prabhupada was very changed my life, and still today I feel this connection. If I chant properly my Gayatri, my Guru Gayatri, then I can see him, I can feel his presence. And if I also absorbed in the Guru Puja, it's the same thing. And if I read his instructions on paper, and if I hear someone speaking about him, everything, he's there. I understand this idea the Christians have when they say that Jesus will send the Holy Spirit, that Jesus is present, even if 2 or 3 people are speaking about him, he's there right in front, in mid of them. So the Guru principle is there. Prabhupada, he's a person. And Prabhupada also, the Guru is a principle. And Prabhupada can manifest through other Vaishnavas. And that is the beauty of all of this. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a story of Avadut that meets with Yadu, and he tells him how he made 24 gurus in nature, the birds and a prostitute and so many elephants. I forgot the 24, but there's a big enumeration, and he explains why. And of course, the Guru can manifest in nature, but he certainly is manifesting in other Vaishnavas. and sadhus, so those who have fixed sadhana. Prabhupada can manifest, speak through them, and enliven us, and hopefully he can speak through us. Out of the many qualities that Prabhupada has was this sense of compassion. I felt that he really cared about his disciples. He only went twice to Jagannath Puri when he was young, 20 years old, according to him. And when at the last stage, when his last project in Bhubaneswar, then he went to Jagannath Puri, and he refused to enter the temple because he said, "You're not allowing my disciple to come, so I'm not going to go." And I've never seen someone so dedicated and so compassionate because to teach Indians, even today, even young Indians today, they still hurt about the British rules, how the British treated them, with harshness and superiority, like you are just a bunch of savage, and we're going to teach you civilization. And Prabhupada has also gone through this kind of education in college and everything. And of course, he was following Gandhi when he was very young at first, but then he met his guru, Gurudev, who told him it's not going to change anything. You make, the independence of India, and then it's still going to be chaos. And when there was a partition of India and Pakistan, Prabhupada was surprised that, yes, my Guru Maharaj, he predicted this. So, but anyway, he had that great sense of compassion even to those who exploited India, and to those militias who came and acted very puffed up. And this is a very rare quality. Many of his god brothers didn't have this. They were I'm a Brahmana and I want to protect my purity and I don't want to get contaminated. And Prabhupada went to the West, all the way to America. And when when he heard that, yes, there's a possibility of touching some people, not among the upper middle class, but to the lower east side of New York, where all the bums and the derelicts and the hippies, he went. And he was living there, and he had all this hippies becoming his disciple. And I have known some of these early devotees who tell me how it was. It's incredible. They were saying that any hippie in those days that will come to his room any time of the day, Prabhupada will spend time to answer his questions. And it was Upendra, his servant, he was telling me that one time one crazy hippie came to Prabhupada and told him, "Oh, Swamiji, I was walking down the street and then all of a sudden I realized I was Jesus Christ." So Prabhupada looked sternly at him and said, "Have you taken LSD?" He said, "Yes." He said to Prabhupada, "If you taken LSD, this is all bogus." And then the hippies start crying, No, I'm assuring you, I am Jesus Christ." And Prabhupada had to put up with all this madness, but he was so merciful, so patient, that he succeeded in transforming all these dirty hippies into some kinds of Vaishnava. Maybe not Shuddha Vaishnava, maybe not Vaishnava like he is, of course, but still to imbibe, because this is not obvious. We were raised in Jewish or Christian families, for most of us, and so to accept that God is a blue boy playing on the flute and attracting all the ladies, that is really far out. That is really something that is not in our culture. But Prabhupada did it, and every time he will start lecturing, he will sing Jaya Radha Madhava. And I've seen it many times in Mayapur, Paris. Prabhupada will sing. Practically everybody who have seen Prabhupada sing that song will know that he will go almost like he will go into some kind of a trance singing. like this. And I didn't know what it was then, but I'm very much aware that to him, because he said this song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually tells everything about Krishna. It tells about the Yamuna, it tells about Yashoda, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Baba. It tells about the Gopa, the Gopis, everything. All of Vrindavan is there in that little song. And it was a song that he will always sing before speaking. So his mood was Vrindavan. His mood was totally absorbed, and that's why when his last pastimes, he wanted to be in Vrindavan. And he wanted also to go through the entire parikrama of Govardhan. Devotees said, no, Prabhupada, the road is too bad, and he wanted to go on bullock cart. He told Lokanath Swami, I will go on a bullock cart. But for Prabhupada, he will be in Vrindavan, singing this song, and he will make us want to go there to Vrindavan, and we can realize our constitutional position very quickly if we want. Prabhupada gave us that opportunity.
Je anilo